Friends, the Congress of the United States has acquired information in the last few hours that I would want to communicate with every one of you. Remember, only few days ago we were unable to remark. Several days have gone since the attack of former President Donald Trump, thus we cannot comment on the events surrounding it. Nevertheless, it is important to highlight that he has recovered from an unpleasant situation that should not have happened. Well released from all this, regardless of political inclination or anything else, than sympathizing with human beings, he has recovered well. Yet, as expected in the United States Congress, this whole scenario has produced a lot of commotion, especially inside the Republican caucus. Following the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump in the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, had asked Kimberly Che, the Director of the Secret Service, to retire. That is so because she lacks great training to manage such kind of circumstances. Johnson also said he would create a congressional working committee to coordinate inquiries on the security lapses around the last Saturday's demonstration Trump visited. Signaling that the matter will not stop there, additional research will be done. And then let's see what happens with all this, because Trump just showed up to the Republican Party with his ear bandaged, I guess. Indeed, the damage was to his right ear. Even with the bandage on his ear, many are demanding for the Director of the Secret Service to resign, as Johnson and I have said. I find this scenario unacceptable, in an interview he said. Charo's comment that the tilted roof support stopped any law enforcement personnel from stationing themselves on the roof where the gunshot started worries me. Although additional Secret Service snipers were positioned on another roof, this incident caused security issues as the individual in issue was a sniper, as is usual in circumstances of this kind. Another Secret Service sniper was present on other rooftops and positioned herself on an inclined one, despite Johnson said this problem still exists, and I think she has shown her priorities, which might not include the protection former President Trump for him. In that regard, we highlight that at least 6 committees in both chambers of Congress have been closely examining different probes. Mike Johnson, the President of the House of Representatives, is a Republican therefore, sought to address this negative scenario that drew interest from the Department of Homeland Security and the Secret Service. Johnson said, let's open quotes, "The establishment of a House task team will simplify investigations. Get words from Yono. Let's open references. This will be the next stage," he mentioned. "We should act fast on Monday and create a task force, especially within the chamber, as this approach will allow for a more targeted involvement. Oh, so the task force won't encounter as many procedural impediments, but it will have the authority to issue subpoena, as Johnson stated, and it will include Democrats and Republicans, so not one lawsuit exists, nor any actual object. There are quite important questions." Johnson says the answers have been inadequate. I think they are intentionally unacceptable. Collecting information, we will also act accordingly, and must answer for this, as it was something unacceptable. Security lapses are not something one needs to be knowledgeable about in special operations to grasp all this, he continued. Johnson's announcement regarding the House forming a task committee, as the House Oversight and Responsibility Committee and the Homeland Security Panel schedule hearings with the Director of the Secret Service next week. Tensions between Republican investigators in the House. Secret comes under investigation by Representatives. The DHS and service officials have escalated recently because of the DHS's regular affiliation with us when they discuss the DHS. This relates to border difficulties and so has relevance. Although DHS is in charge of border security and all else, they are also, since the Department of National Security is in charge of spotting any attack directed towards a public person. All that too. So, they have to observe it, oversee it, and examine it. Johnson claimed to have been discussing the task force with Mark Green, head of the Homeland Security Committee, and that both of them will be closely involved. So examining the particular SX secure flaws that the incident revealed helps one to better understand the larger consequences of the event. The incident revealed various shortcomings in the security systems meant to protect the integrity of the Capitol, have generated a lot of worry and calls for an all-encompassing reassessment of security policies. It became clear throughout the incident that the security equipment wasn't suitably equipped to handle the circumstances, poor physical barriers, and insufficient staffing among the main problems. Though intelligence reports suggested possible threats, the response was chaotic and tardy due to lack of coordination among several law enforcement organizations. This led the situation to develop. Failure has sparked grave questions over the readiness and responsiveness of the security forces responsible with safeguarding the vital infrastructure of the government. We have closely examined the Secret Service activities and responsibilities. The Secret Service is under severe investigation as it is in charge of the safety and security of high-ranking government officials, like the Vice President. We are closely examining the Secret Service's part in the incident. We are closely examining the Secret Service's part. The Secret Service's performance on that specific day caused the agency in charge of the safety of high-ranking people, including the Vice President, to reconsider their readiness in case of similar threats that occurred. Also underlined possible communication gaps between the Secret Service, other security agencies, and the public. It seemed that the coordination and sharing of information methods, which are very vital in such circumstances, were insufficient. People have queried the interagency. Cooperation is vital for stopping security breaches and handling them, so we should focus on the immediate adjustments carried out before considering the larger influence on national policies. The event spurred a demand for change. Among the reforms are improved physical security at the Capitol, better intelligence analysis, and more training of security personnel. Ensuring security personnel have the right tools and training will help them to handle like circumstances. These shortcomings have also spurred a larger conversation on the balance between civil liberties and security, as well as on the need of rigorous policies among legislators and security experts on the suitability of present security systems. Consider the effect of more protection on personal liberties. This speech impacts the future of security policy. We continue to study the consequences of these security failings, and it is clear that this occurrence has changed the viewpoint of security in the highest levels. Lessons learned are guiding improvements to increase the resilience of our infrastructure and guarantee that such breaches never again. Before we discuss the particular effects on congressional operations, let us first grasp the larger context. Unquestionably, the current occurrence has lengthy shadow over Capitol Hill, influencing legislators and the legislative process. Pay attention to. Before we discuss the parliamentary deadlock, let's first take some consideration of the continuous issues pushed to the back. For instance, burner immigration reform has been a divisive topic for years, even with bipartisan attempts. The fall-off of current negotiations leaves the question unresolved. Still, the imperative to fix border security and asylum rules still exists, but the present turmoil has stopped any significant advancement. Before we discuss the financial consequences, we have to admit the crucial status of Social Security reform, with various proposals proposed in Congress, trying to solve the approaching shortfall, the discussion on how to resolve. Although the parliamentary impasse has delayed any definite action before we discuss the more general political repercussions, the future of the program is more hotly debated than ever, ideas ranging from boosting benefits to modifying the payroll tax cap. Hence, the occurrence has taken focus from these urgent problems. Legislators now are juggling immediate security issues and the necessity to bring Congress itself back into order. This change in emphasis has left major policy areas such as immigration and underlines important issues. Social Security in a state of uncertainty, with no clear way forward. Before we discuss the possibility for future reforms, it is obvious that the present crisis has generated a legislative bottleneck. The inability to proceed on important problems like immigration and Social Security reform highlight the larger difficulties Congress faces in these stormy times. These previous several days of this week have been very difficult. Sadly, the Congress of the United States has been emphasizing on an attack, like this one deflecting attention from other matters of great relevance, including immigration, Social Security reform, and many others that remain stationary at the present, of course. The protection of a president or former president, call them Clinton, Barack Obama, Bush, or Trump, is equally significant, and hence they must take it as such, regardless of the repetition. Ladies and gentlemen, let's discuss the most recent events we will be looking at from the United States. States Congress. Please leave a remark. This material will help you to discuss what the Secret Service Director should do. We will see you in the next video. Goodbye-bye.